Hey there, I'm Ari with the Tech Buyers Guru, and I'm going to be demonstrating for you the advanced lighting that you can set up in your PC using Thermaltake's brand new ARGB Sync line of cooling products. This includes, for instance, its Water 3.0 360 ARGB Sync cooler and its Pure 12 ARGB Sync 120mm fans. Now, these are all called Sync products because they in fact sync with your motherboard. I'm going to be using an Asus motherboard, which means I have Asus Aura software called up here on my screen. If you're using Gigabyte, you have RGB Fusion. If you're using MSI, you have Mystic Light. And if you're using ASRock, you have Polychrome. They all have their own software suites, but they essentially do the same thing. They allow you to control either RGB lights or, in this case, ARGB lights, which means addressable RGBs. These are a lot more advanced than RGB in the sense that they can each be controlled individually. That doesn't mean that you go in and program what all 100 lights in your system will look like at any given moment. In fact, what the addressable RGB system allows you to do is set up a whole set of fans or components to act as if they were one light strip. So think of it that way. If I had one light strip and I wanted it to go from blue to red and then back to blue, I might be able to do that. But what if I have 6 fans? And I don't want them all to be blue at the same time. I want them to act like they are part of one single system. That's what addressable RGBs allow you to do. So what I've done in my test system, which I'll show you in a moment, is set up all the fans that Thermaltake provided for testing on one ARGB header on my Asus motherboard. Now, I've had some viewers on YouTube question whether or not this is actually achievable with these new products. This type of product is so new that some people believe you still need kind of a hardware breakout box to control the lighting, as you did with a lot of previous products, as well as products that use, for instance, a proprietary software suite that isn't compatible with like Asus Aura in this instance. In fact, what I'm going to be showing you is 6 fans. I've got 3 fans on the cooler, 3 in the case, plus the pump head. So that's 7 different synchronized components in my system, all running off one header on my motherboard. So they will act as a series, as one system of lighting. And I'll show you the kind of lighting you can achieve when you have all your fans set up in that way and connected to your motherboard, run off the motherboard software. So let me switch the camera over to the system and give you a few demonstrations. Alright, I've gone ahead and turned off the lights and focused the camera right on the interior of my Thermaltake A500 case. I should note that there's 2 components here that do not sync to the motherboard. They are the EVGA GeForce RTX 2080 Ti video card and the Corsair Dominator Platinum RGB RAM. Both of those require their own proprietary software to control, and I've set them both to kind of a gradient of purple-pink that kind of matches some of the colors you'll see in the Thermaltake fans and cooler. But what I'm going to be demonstrating are actually the addressable ARGB effects of the Thermaltake fans. So let's focus on those. Right now you're seeing what's called Comet. And what if you notice, what you'll actually see is that the lighting scheme starts at the front of the case and heads towards the rear by way of the liquid cooler mounted on top. So as you can see, that lighting is cycling through the system and ending at the cooler's radiator, the pump header right at the top. I'll show you some other examples. We also have a cool one called Rainbow. So this is Rainbow. Now I'm going to be using some of the same colors that I've set the video card and RAM to. And what's actually happening is that rainbow is cycling all the way through from front to back. So it's not just each fan doing its own rainbow cycle. It's actually the entire series of 7 components. We have 6 fans plus the pump header, all acting as if they are one light strip. So you'll see it starts at blue from the front, and then that blue passes all the way to the back and then to the pump header, and then starts over again. So it's now blue in the front again. It's passing over the top. You can kind of see that here. The back is going to turn blue, and then we're going to see the pump header turn blue in a moment. There it goes. I'll show you a few others that are pretty neat. Starry Night is kind of subtle. What Starry Night does is actually flash lights throughout your system while keeping all of your lights actually lit up. So it looks like it's using something like a 50% brightness for all the RGB lights at all times, and then it'll flash certain lights at 100% brightness throughout the system. So if you look carefully, you'll see there'll be some flashing lights, like on a starry night, you'll see some stars kind of flash in the sky. That's what it's emulating here. Again, this is only possible with addressable RGBs because it's actually controlling a single RGB light at any instance when it's flashing those lights. And at the same time, it's actually controlling all of the RGB lights at a 50% brightness. Another one that Asus offers is the Flash and Dash. Again, all the fans are lit up here. So unlike the Comet I showed you before, where it kind of shoots throughout the case and turns fans on and off in sequence, all the fans are on, and yet what you see is a cycling of the lights through specific fans, starting with the front of the case and going all the way towards the rear and then the pump head. So let's see if we can track it here. All right, it's going through the front of the case. These fans are lighting up, and then now we're going to get right here. So you saw the cycle go through from front to back and then the pump head. I'm going to go back to rainbow here. This is really neat. You can see, again, and not just that each fan is doing its own thing, that you see each fan or rainbow cycling, it's the entire case rainbow cycling. So we have, it's passing a yellow signal, yellow and orange, all the way around. Now we have purple coming from the front of the case. It's going to come around to the pump head in a second. There it is. So again, it's kind of looking at system lighting as something that isn't just component by component, but your system as a whole. And I think that this is something that has been a long time coming. It requires industry standards, and that's why I'm so impressed by what Thermaltake has achieved here, and of course Asus as well. Asus led the way many years ago with its Aura software, and frankly it took component manufacturers quite a while to catch up and say, hey, you know what, this is worth standardizing on and using the standard motherboard header to control it. Now, it's hard to see, but there's actually a 3-pin header right up here that I'm using to control all the lights on those Thermaltake products. One single ARGB header. It's a 3-pin 5-volt header. It's a standard connector on all motherboards released this year, at least in 2019. It used to be that Gigabyte, I think, had a slightly different pin arrangement, but everyone's standardized on it's a split 3-pin, so it's got 2 and then a space and a 1 pin, and all the motherboards have it, and that allows you to control addressable RGB products. And so that's the end of the demo. Asus has a number of other patterns. I'm sure that Gigabyte and MSI and ASRock have their own patterns. They use their own names. But I just really wanted to show people that what is possible here with addressable RGB lighting on a modern motherboard using modern components that conform to the industry standard. So hopefully this has been interesting to you, maybe educational, maybe enlightening. I really am a big supporter of industry standards for lighting. I think it does a lot for the PC industry and for consumers as a whole. So if you have questions or comments, please post them below. Of course, I'll do my best to answer them. I might be able to get back to Thermaltake and get some more answers if you have questions. And if you do like this video, please do like and subscribe so I know that you want to see more of this type of content. Again, I'm Ari from the Tech Buyers Guru, and I'll catch you next time.